This segment is sponsored by VCU Massey Cancer Center.
Well, February is National Cancer Prevention Month, and early detection is key. Today, we're talking about cervical cancer. We're joined by Dr. Leslie Randal, Director of Gynecologic Oncology at VCU Massey Cancer Center. We welcome her to Virginia this morning. It's great to see you this morning.
Hi, good morning. Great to be here.
We're happy to have you. This is an important month, raising awareness, but as we were talking before we got started, you mentioned your area of specialty, gynecologic oncology. So you're helping women with cancer issues below the belt, is what you said with me.
Exactly, correct. So gynecologic is a big mouthful. So it's women's cancer, but it's not breast cancer. It's what we call, like you said, below the belt. So we treat cervical cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, and some rare tumor types called vulvar cancer, which is like an external cancer. And oddly enough, even a pregnancy can become malignant, and we call that trophoblastic tumors. They're very rare, and we treat those also.
Wow. In the conversation, we've shared sometimes that cancer can be preventable. Are these types of cancers preventable?
Some of these types are preventable, and that's, if there's a good thing about cancer, this is the good thing. Awareness is a big part of prevention. If you don't know something is effective at preventing cancer, then you don't know that you should be doing those things. So we'll talk a lot about cervical cancer today, but I just want to bring in a couple of very preventable cancers: ovarian and fallopian tube peritoneal cancer. These are three cancers that are really the same thing. Most people just call them ovarian cancer. Ovarian cancer can run in families, and in fact, about 25–30% of our cases are actually genetic, and often will run in families with breast cancer also. And so that's what we call the BRCA gene mutation. And so that was made sort of famous by Angelina Jolie several years ago. So I often call that the Angelina Jolie gene, and then patients will know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But if you have that family history, you can ask to be tested by your doctor. We don't test everyone. There are like some specific criteria, but having that in your history is a trigger to ask your doctor, should I be tested for this gene or not? And if you carry that gene, we can actually do preventative surgery before cancer ever develops. And you don't know this, but I'm very overtrained to do that operation, but I love that surgery. That's like my favorite surgery to do because it has such a huge impact on women's survival and outcome.
I think this is fascinating. I had no idea. So this is particularly enlightening, as you were saying, okay, well, we can get the test, but how does that equate to prevention? But a surgery can make this a huge difference.
It can, and surgery can be, surgery is a big deal, it's life-changing, but it's life-saving. And so we consider that benefit to far outweigh any risks of the surgery. And we have ways of addressing some of the quality of life issues that come about when you have, a hysterectomy at a young age. You mentioned cervical cancer. Let's get to that part of the conversation too, one that's typically very top of mind for most women. Cervical cancer is not as common in the United States as it is in the developing world because we have screening tests, so pap smear test. And pap smears should really be done, we start at age 21 doing screening, and then we screen women until they turn 65 or until they've had a hysterectomy, after which time they usually don't need a pap test anymore. So we also have another test called an HPV test. So cervical cancer is caused by the HPV virus. Women from 21 to 30 really don't need an HPV test for reasons that are complicated. We start doing HPV testing really in the 30 plus age group. And every 3 years you need a pap smear. If you get the HPV test with your pap smear and they're both negative, then you don't need another test for 5 years. Now, you still need to see your doctor, your gynecologist annually, but you don't necessarily have to have that test done, but that's very effective. Now, the most effective prevention for cervical cancer is the HPV vaccination. So the United States is actually behind the rest of the world in HPV vaccination, and that's surprising, and that's for complicated reasons, I think. I think there's a lot of fear of vaccines in general, and then there are some political reasons that this vaccine has been gotten some bad press in the past because it is a sexually transmitted disease. But most people in their lifetime will be exposed to HPV. This vaccine is 100% effective to prevent cancer.
Massey Cancer Center offers women with cervical cancer options.
Right, absolutely. So if you unfortunately are given the diagnosis of cervical cancer, there are a lot of things that we can do. We hope to find it in the early stages and can cure it with surgery. If not, there are radiation and chemotherapy treatments. I actually was brought to Massey to run a clinical trials program. So I run a cervical cancer trials program on a national level, and we're bringing these clinical trials right here to Massey for these women.
So many things happening at Massey that we're so proud of. Dr. Randal, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Some great information. For more on VCU Massey Cancer Center, you can give them a call, 804-828-9080. Visit online at masseycancercenter.org, and you can find them on social media, facebook.com/VCU Massey Cancer Center.